And identity always comes first. The way you speak trains your brain and others to see you differently. If you want to be seen as an executive, you got to first believe you are one. Own it internally, and the external proof will follow. Hey everyone, this is Renee Frey from Talent Q, and you're listening to the Conscious Professional Podcast. More people than ever want to be happy in their career and personal life, but they're going about it all wrong. I'm here to set the record straight and emphasize the importance of prioritizing your mindset. I'm thrilled you're here. Today's episode is for the senior managers, the high performers, the ambitious professionals out there eyeing that next big title. Maybe it's director, senior director, or vice president. Whatever it is, you know you're ready to make a strategic move to an executive level role. But here's the thing. Getting into an executive level role is not about dusting off your resume and applying online. Nope. It takes more than credentials. It takes deep, bold positioning, alignment, and strategic action. I'll be breaking down the 5 key areas you gotta focus on to make your transition into an executive role smooth, intentional, and powerful. These 5 areas are mindset, personal branding, strategic networking, bold positioning, and executive level negotiation. Let's dive in. Here's a truth I've learned from working with executives across the country. Before you get the next big role, you need to think like the person who already has it. Let's break that down. Too often people wait for a promotion or a title change before they start showing up differently. But here's the truth. The people who get those high-level roles are the ones who already act like they're in them. And I'm not talking about faking it. It's about stepping into the mindset, the behaviors, the decisions that match where you're going, not where you're at right now. So ask yourself, how would a director think about this strategy? How would a vice president respond in this meeting? How would a director manage this conversation with the C-suite? Because being an executive isn't about doing more work. It's about thinking at a higher level. It's about seeing the whole picture, solving complex problems, influencing stakeholders, and leading with confidence and clarity. And when you start operating like an executive, making decisions through that lens, owning your space in the room, being proactive instead of reactive, you start becoming the obvious choice for those roles. Let's go deeper here into this identity because this is where real transformation begins. I'm not saying stand in the mirror and tell yourself a bunch of affirmations every day like, I'm a director, I lead like a director. This isn't about cheesy mantras. It's about an internal shift, an entire transformation into how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you show up. Because identity isn't just what you say. It's about what you believe and what you do and what you allow. And before you can shift into something, you have to define what that something is. The best method is to ask yourself some great questions. Write these down if you're not driving. Ask yourself, what qualities does a world-class director embody? How do they speak, lead, decide, and delegate? What values do they prioritize? Create a leadership avatar of your future self. What they wear, how they start their day, what they believe about money, success, people, impact. And this becomes your blueprint. There's a great quote by James Clear. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. You can't shift your identity if your surroundings are reinforcing the old you. That means taking a look at your current habits and environment. Take time to truly evaluate them. Who are you spending your time with? Are they stretching you or are they keeping you safe? Are you still taking on every task like an individual contributor? Or are you learning to delegate like a visionary leader? Does your calendar reflect urgent tasks or strategic thinking time? After you have a clear vision of the executive you are becoming and you've audited your current habits, you gotta start making small upgrades. Protect thinking time like a director. And if you've never heard of thinking time, it will change your life. I learned the concept from Keith Cunningham. Thinking time is a skill where you set aside time on your calendar every single day to think on a regular basis. The key is to have effective thinking time is start with a really great question. You need to start with a powerful question. You could ask yourself, who do I need on my team? What outcomes do they need to produce in order for me to hit my target December 31st? How would I need to lead and deliver results so stakeholders or clients would say, we'd be crazy not to keep working with this team? Once you have the question, write it down on your notebook with a paper and pen. Don't do this on the computer. There's too many distractions. And I want you to turn off all your notifications, turn off your phone, and set an alarm for 30 to 45 minutes. And you start writing answers to that question you asked yourself. And you can keep going, asking more and more powerful questions. Then at the end, I want you to look at what you wrote. Get rid of the bad ideas. Take the one or two ideas that might need future thinking time. Take the other ones you want to execute on and get them in your calendar. A key trait of an effective executive is the ability to manage and control their calendar. Those constantly running fire to fire, reacting to every issue are stuck in the weeds and too focused on the doing. They may be busy all day, but not productive. And yes, I know fires are going to pop up when you're an executive, but your role is to plan, think strategically, and drive results, not be driven by chaos. The most unproductive leaders are the ones who've lost control of their time. When you're an executive, it will be more planning, thinking, driving results as opposed to being driven by them. The people who aren't productive aren't in control of their calendars. Next, you need to dress the part, even if you're working from home. You've probably heard the phrase, dress for the job you want, not the one you have. And it's cliche for a reason. The way you present yourself impacts how others perceive your leadership potential and how you show up mentally for the role you're stepping into. Surround yourself with high-level peers, mentors, and content. If you want to step into a more senior role, you need to immerse yourself in the environments, conversations, and mindsets that reflect where you're going, not where you've been. This means being intentional about who you spend your time with and what you consume. Start building relationships with peers at or above the level you're aiming for. Join executive networking groups, leadership forums, or professional associations in your industry. These spaces will expose you to high-level leaders and how they think, communicate, and make decisions. Next, seek out mentors, people who have already walked the path you're on. Don't wait for formal mentorship programs. Be proactive, reach out, ask smart questions, and be someone they enjoy helping. And finally, level up your content diet. Replace passive scrolling with podcasts hosted by executive leaders, business books on strategy and influence, or articles from sources like Harvard Business Review. Listen to how they frame problems, speak about leadership, and prioritize long-term thinking. The people you surround yourself with and the content you consume will either reinforce your current identity or help you shape your next one. The people and content in your orbit of influence, how you see yourself, but it doesn't stop there. The way you speak matters just as much. Learn to speak from power, not permission. And if you've been following me a while, you know I'm a big believer in the power of words. They carry weight and they matter. So watch your language. Your words reinforce your identity. If your old identity sounds like, I hope I can get promoted soon, I'm trying to position myself as a leader. Then your new identity speaks like, I'm focused on increasing my strategic impact. I lead with clarity, confidence, and impact regardless of my title. Words matter. Shift your language before the world reflects the change back to you. And identity always comes first. The way you speak trains your brain and others to see you differently. If you want to be seen as an executive, you got to first believe you are one. Own it internally, and the external proof will follow. I worked with a client named Rachel, and she was stuck in middle management and felt invisible. She kept saying things like, I hope they see my potential, or maybe I'll get noticed if I work harder. We changed her language first, and she began introducing herself as someone who drives strategic outcomes and leads high-performing teams. And at first, she felt like she was stretching the truth, but within months, others started repeating those exact phrases back to her, and she got promoted to an executive level role. Not because she waited to be seen, but because she started seeing herself differently first. If this topic is resonating with you and you want to go even deeper, I've got a whole episode called New Identity that breaks this down even further. How to actually become the version of you who already has the title, the presence, the impact that you want. So go give it a listen right after this one, and I promise it'll light a fire under you. Now, let's keep building. Next, if you need to act as if, but keep it grounded. You're not pretending, you're practicing. Start asking, how would an executive leader show up to this meeting? How would they write this email? How would they respond to resistance or change? You're not faking it, you're aligning with it. It's leadership embodiment. And a great tip is to keep a daily reflection journal. End your day with, what would my next level self have done differently today? This builds self-awareness and accelerates the identity shift because once you see the patterns, you can start changing them. Next up, visualize and rehearse. Visualization primes your brain and rehearsal rewires your behavior. So how do you do this? If you're not driving, I want you to close your eyes and see yourself walking into the boardroom, speaking confidently to the C-suite, leading a town hall meeting, negotiating your director compensation package. Then rehearse it in real life. Role play with a coach, speak up in meetings, or run small strategic initiatives like you already are in that role. And your nervous system learns safety through repetition. Fear, anxiety, and strong emotions are going to come up when you stretch into a new identity. But over time with repetition, those feelings start to fade. And I'll share a personal example from my own life. So back in the day, I was petrified of public speaking. People talk about butterflies in their stomach. That's mild. I had birds flying around in mine. My body would just shake thinking about standing up in front of a group. My mind would freeze like sport mode Barbie. That was my reality. And at that time, I was working at Target Corporation, and I knew I had to figure out if I wanted to grow my career, I had to figure out how to learn how to public speak. So I started sharing it with people. And one day I told Rudra, a hiring manager that I supported in the tech division, I told him I'm petrified of public speaking. He couldn't believe it. He was like, no way, Renee. I was like, yes way. I only speak the truth. My colleagues were shocked because I'm always been super social and outgoing and great with people one-on-one, but standing up in front of an entire group, total different story. Rudra told me Toastmasters held meetings in our building every Wednesday at lunch, and he invited me to join him. So I thought, what do I have to lose? So I went, and I'll never forget when I reached the 2 large wooden doors. There were no windows, no visibility inside. My anxiety totally kicked in. The birds were flying in my belly, but I opened the door. Inside, people were chatting and smiling, so welcoming, and the meeting began with a gavel bang. There was a podium and the room was set up like a U shape and everyone was facing the front. And the people who spoke that day were so good. They didn't look nervous at all. And the format, I got to tell you, to be honest, it's really cheesy. It's super formal, but it worked. And if you haven't heard of Toastmasters, they're all across the country. They're an organization that helps people improve their public speaking in a structured, supportive environment. Members give prepared speeches, participate in impromptu speaking section called Table Topics, and they receive real-time feedback after they speak. And they have people counting, like how many filler words you're saying, oh, and so. Cheesy, yeah, but super effective. I decided to join. I stuck with it for 2 years. And at the end, I was so comfortable in front of a room, not surviving. I was loving it. I went from frozen to fear to feeling fully confident. And that just didn't help me speak better. It was part of an identity shift. I stopped seeing myself as someone who was trying to be a leader, and I started embodying someone who already was. And that shift didn't happen overnight. It took time and practice and showing up as that version of me again and again. Which brings me to the next point, reinforce through repetition and recognition. It's not a one-time thing. Identity shifts through consistent action, positive reinforcement, surrounding yourself with the people who can reflect your future and not your past. You got to celebrate small wins. Each bold email, each boundary set, each decision made like a leader, that's confirmation that you're already becoming. It's identity first and title second. So if you want to be considered for your next big opportunity, start showing up as that person today. Think the thoughts, speak the language, take the actions. Let your presence reflect the position you're aiming for. Because leaders aren't promoted to become leaders. They're promoted because they're already leading. A lot of senior managers stay stuck because they're operating from the mindset of their current role, not the one they're trying to step into. It's time to move from doer to visionary, from I lead projects to I drive results at scale, from I support the business to I shape business strategy. I'm going to tell you about Marcus. He was a senior director at a global consumer goods company, sharp, successful, and exhausted. He came to me thinking he needed a better resume, but what he actually needed was a mindset shift. He didn't realize he was downplaying his influence because he wasn't owning the big picture value that he brought to the table. We worked on reframing his language from tasks to transformation, and within months, he wasn't just landing interviews, he was being courted by boards. So here's your homework. Ask yourself, what would the next version of me do? That version of you doesn't just lead meetings, they influence direction. They don't wait for permission, they create the future. Next, if you need to rebrand your LinkedIn, because if your LinkedIn profile still looks like a traditional resume, we got work to do. Your digital presence is often your first impression. Before someone even schedules a call with you, they've Googled you, they've looked you up on LinkedIn, maybe even checked out your articles or your comments or your personal stuff. At the executive level, your profile needs to say, I belong in the boardroom. That means custom banner image that reflects your industry or your leadership style. Headline that goes beyond your job title. Think sexy, scroll-stopping hook like I drive growth and innovation in consumer health. I turn teams into high-performing powerhouses. Let me share a quick story about Sarah, former VP of marketing. She had an incredible background. Fortune 100 pedigree, award-winning campaigns, but her profile felt safe. It wasn't until we rewrote her summary to highlight her leadership philosophy and vision for modern marketing that the right opportunities started showing up. This is the power of positioning. Your profile isn't a list of duties, it's your pitch for what's next. So take 15 minutes out of your day today and go Google yourself. See what comes up. Is it aligned with where you're going or where you've been? Here's something not enough people talk about. As you move up the ladder, executive roles become fewer and farther between. And most of them aren't posted. They're passed around quietly through networks, referrals, executive recruiters, relationships built over years. But if you're waiting for a job board to show you your next big opportunity, you might be waiting a really long time. And that means your next opportunity is already in someone else's inbox. You just haven't been introduced to them yet. Executive transitions happen through referrals, executive recruiters, warm intros from other executives. So you got to ask yourself, who do you know that knows someone? Now, my client James landed his COO role not because of a job posting, but because he sent a thoughtful message to a former colleague on LinkedIn who had just joined a new company. One thing led to another, and boom, 6 weeks later, he was negotiating equity. You need to build your personal board of directors, a tight circle of mentors, peers, former bosses, and connectors who know your value and can open doors. But here's the secret. You have to offer value first. Share insights, celebrate their wins, make strategic introductions, and be top of mind before you make the ask. Let's talk about your long game. Too often, leaders chase the next title without stopping to ask, is this even aligned with what I want? Before you jump, get clear on your leadership thesis. What do you stand for? What impact do you want to have? What problems are you most energized to solve? Not every opportunity that comes your way is the right one. I worked with a CFO individual, Dana, who turned down an offer from a top 10 tech firm because the culture didn't match her leadership style. 3 months later, she landed a better aligned role with way more autonomy, bigger upside, and a leadership team that respected her values. Sometimes the strategic move isn't a title bump, it's a lateral shift into a company that sets you up to soar. Okay, let's get to the part that makes most people squirm. Negotiation. At this level, you're not negotiating salary. You're negotiating value exchange. It's not, what will you pay me? It's, here's the strategic value I bring. Let's build a package that reflects that. Here's what I tell every exec that I coach. The first offer is rarely the best offer. You have more power than you think. Be confident, be curious, and collaborative. All right, let's wrap this up. Executive transitions aren't made by luck. They're made by strategy. And the key points from today's episode are: upgrade your mindset. Shift from playing it safe to thinking like a high-impact executive, because the way you think shapes the way you lead. Rebrand for visibility. Position yourself as the obvious choice for your next role by refining how you show up online and in the room. Network with intention. Build relationships that open doors to unposted opportunities and insider access to exec roles. Make bold, aligned career moves. Take strategic action that matches where you're headed, not where you've been. And negotiate with confidence and clarity. Know your worth, advocate for it, title, pay, and beyond. You've got what it takes, but now it's time to make the right moves. If you're ready for hands-on support as you step into this next chapter, jump on my calendar and schedule a call with me. You can find the links in the show notes. And if you loved this episode, please share it with someone who's thinking of their next big role, because we rise together. Until next time, go create the future you were made for and make one change to be better than you were yesterday. Live your life with intention. I believe in you. I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible. So if you would, please hit the follow button so we can grow our community of conscious professionals. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can find the button at the top of the page. See you next week. Cheers, everyone.